Hi everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Tracy Yang, New York-based composer and pianist, and 2021 winner of the Charlie Parker Jazz Composition Prize and Manny Album Commission. Tracy is here to show us how to write backgrounds with personality.
Hi everyone. So today I want to share my logistic thinking process when I come across crafting personalities for solo backgrounds. When I compose, I like to imagine as I'm doing a painting. The first thing is knowing my canvas size and parameters. In standard case, I use the 17-piece jazz orchestra with woodwind doublings as my standard canvas size, and parameters are more like whatever I can change. So that will be the orchestration I have and the register of each instrument. So in my logistic thinking, variations are the key to making the personalities. So let's take a look at some variations I organize. You can apply the same logistic thinking in writing and playing, but today my example will focus on solo background writing. So I like to organize the music canvas vertically, horizontal, and as a whole. So vertically, we have rhythm and register and thickness here. So rhythm, the most common ones are either some, short percussive hits or more like pads-like. But we also want to avoid lots of like stiff pads. So you can always smartly break down this pads by rhythm, and it will immediately be way more melodic and lyrical in most cases. For the register, we have to know the characteristic of different register in each instrument and figure out which register can best transform what you want to speak about. For the thickness, harmony-wise, you can, have some choice like cluster, spread, or something in between. Register-wise, if you cover more register ranges, it became more thicker. And also like how many instruments are playing at the same time also affects your thickness. For the horizontal part, phrasing-wise, I like to think about it as the breathing point. And for voice leading, some are more like smooth lineage and some are more like non-diatonic based like on your chord progression. For the dynamic buildup, it can be micro as in one bar. I also always like to look at the whole section. So even like the whole piece, to control the curve or dynamic buildups. So for as a whole thing, occasionally I think this part can be a bit abstract and might need a little bit more experience and imagination when you write. But you can just try to set a vibe in words and in your logic thinking first and try to, find a mix that can achieve that vibe. So here, like vibe, atmosphere, space, and tone, color, texture, basically it's kind of like blending different layers and overtones and combinations of like different instruments. For the density part, it can be like how dramatic do you want, vertically, horizontally, and as a whole section. So next, I will use my composition industrial zone as an example. So for the character of this piece, I wanted to create that industrial zone scene, the open land, the not so human warmth area with the gigantic machines, you wonder how they build it, kind of feeling, and sometimes surrounded by this kind of like airy vibe. At the very beginning of the music, I use some of the lowest register to create that broad and dark vibe. So here, the slide you can see is the entry of the flugelhorn solo after the melody statement. I use the same color coding from the previous slide for what I organized before. So the red is like the vertical, and blue is horizontal, and purple is as whole. I want to use the thin side of the orchestration to set up the vibe. It almost feels like, starting a tale, like once upon a time. And the flugelhorn solo is obviously a storyteller. I use the higher register of piano and bass to create that choir-like humming to accompany the storyteller. It creates that spacey, echoing wise kind of vibe. Let's have a listen. So I used to give a lot of like slashes and just like tags instruction to the rhythm section and let them just play around and be creative. But occasionally it's not a bad idea to actually set out a vibe that you want, to either guide them or have more control over your storytelling to have that lineage, especially, you know, in most cases, we have like very limited reading opportunities, and player comes from like different backgrounds and have different thoughts. So they don't necessarily immediately know what kind of comping sounds you are looking for. So here I take the chance to elaborate on the piano comping using just rhythm section to set out that unique atmosphere and have some contrast and continuation on my composition, you know, keeping that soft melody beneath of the solo. Let's look at the next slide. So after this warm-up, I slowly brought the register lower. I wanted to bring back that dark vibe again. And I wanted to make sure to build each layer very smoothly and gradually. So I need to control the register and dynamics well to ensure they grow only to a certain range. Let's look at next page. I think I got some inspiration from, you know, when I play in some pop bands. So we do a lot of like pads, but in different kind, you have to create different kind of pad sounds. So here I added another pad layer by woodwinds. I am only trying to add a texture rather than the harmony colors. So I use the octave repeating rhythm just to create more interesting pad. I also choose to introduce this texture with a higher register and a thinner orchestration to ensure it has a place itself rather than clashing with others. But later on, I also added in another register to thicken this texture. Let's have a listen. So closer to the end of the solo, I'm building toward the maximum point. So this will be the chance I bring the whole ensemble in. I also want to ensure I have a very good control over the build-up so that they arrive at the maximum point gradually and effectively. Let's take a listen for the next part. So the very last part I'm sharing today is the arrival of the max point. I built a dramatic tension release vibe, used tone color change and an energy change to give another character of this background. The max point is more dance in the mid-range. I think it's dramatic and effective as a transition. Let's have a listen. This is my sharing today. I would really encourage you to try logistic thinking first, to play around using these parameters and variation on your music canvas to craft a personality and storyline for your composition. If you're interested to check out the whole piece to get a whole idea, we will put a link in the description below the video. I hope you find today's sharing interesting and helpful.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.